In this video from Clown World, a morbidly obese woman demands free extra seats on all flights. Let's talk about it. Let me show you the clip.
My petition states all plus-size passengers should be provided with an additional seat or 2 or 3 depending on their size and need. Airlines should also offer a straightforward refund process for those who are buying additional seats independently.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. This morbidly obese individual has a poor life, makes poor life choices. They eat too much of bad things and they get massive because of it. They now want special privileges because of their irresponsibility. Now, I know there are some people who have glandular problems, which results in obesity. And that does present us with a challenge. However, I don't think that changes anything. The idea that you would get a free seat on a plane because you're morbidly obese makes absolutely no sense. Sorry. I mean, think about it this way. This woman, if you want this policy to be enforced, that means when you are buying a plane ticket, you need to select 2 seats and then put this one's free because I'm too fat. How does that make sense? Why wouldn't anybody just do that? You see how this policy doesn't work? Let's say this morbidly obese woman is buying an American Airlines ticket, then selects passenger of unusual size, which then shows 2 seats become 1. Why wouldn't everyone just do that? You see the problem? You can't get special privileges like an extra seat just because you're fat. Why wouldn't anyone else get that special privilege? In fact, you can ask for a wheelchair if you don't need one. You'll get it. But take a look at this story from BuzzFeed. This is from a few months ago, and they talk about just this. Fat people usually have to buy a second plane seat. That has to change. Why? Why does it have to change? Seriously. Do tall people get to go on free plane rides that are bigger? If a tall person books a plane and it's too small, should he be upgraded automatically to a from a Embraer 175 to a 737? Get more headroom? How does that make any sense? It doesn't. You can't do it. These people all want special privileges, and this is just one example. Check this out. This story from BuzzFeed is actually quite hilarious. Kevin Smith made headlines in 2010. I'll give you the gist of the story. He was too fat. And most airlines have a policy that if you can't put down the armrest, then you are not properly seated. And most of these airlines, in fact, the armrests are already down. So if you can't fit, you can't fit. But here's where it gets funny. They say Smith's experience sounds painful. He was actually kicked off a plane. But Amber Phillips was dangerous. Phillips was a filmmaker. She's black. She sat next to a woman. She was very fat, and the thin white passenger, they accused the thin white passenger of being the bad guy, mind you, pushed Phillips further into the wall. Well, is it because the fat black woman was too fat for her own seat? They're acting like this white woman was the aggressor. It's just so weird. I don't know what happened. But here's what ends up happening. The police get called. And then the woman says, white people literally need to stop calling the cops on black people who make them uncomfortable. They're calling the cops like they need to speak to the manager or something. You're not allowed to call the cops for things that aren't true. Sure. They're going to mention that fat passengers say when you're fat, flying can be a minefield. Other passengers may loudly complain in front of us about what they believe to be fat people's burdensome bodies. Flight attendants, too, may decide that we are too fat to fly, escorting us from the plane and leaving us stranded without warning or recourse. And those around us may take our photograph, film us, making another viral sensation of a fat person who dares to think we could only fly with dignity we could only fly with the dignity that thin people do. Among the most persistent challenges of flying while fat is navigating the maze of airline policies. Here's the funny thing, okay? Planes have weight limits. When we used to do flight manifests, we have to tell the pilot how much weight we put in the back of the plane. You do estimates based on bag size. On average, a small bag is 30 pounds and a large bag is 60 pounds. And we had to lift all of those bags every time into the back of the plane. We then write up the manifest. We add if there's any animals. We give it to the pilot. He looks and then he knows how he needs to deal with the weight of the plane. Like you can't have too much weight on the left or the right side. It has to be balanced. You can't have too many passengers in the front or the back. This is why sometimes when a plane is somewhat empty, they may tell you, I'm sorry, you have to sit in this section because of weight distribution. It's a plane. It's how it works. But the reason I wanted to bring up this story is that I think a petition demanding free seats just takes it one step too far. But it's also indicative of the crisis we face culturally. And that is, I'm not surprised fat people are demanding free stuff. I mean, right? Everybody's going to demand free stuff. What's important to point out in this segment is that we have attained a critical mass of morbid obesity to the point where a fat rights movement can actually exist. That is to say, if you only had let's say you have 100 million people and 100,000 are morbidly obese, you're not going to get any special privileges. They're going to say, look, we get it, but you can't do this. But now we have so much morbid obesity in this country that you have a fat rights movement, and it's significant enough to garner votes and resources. And now here we are. BuzzFeed News. Why would they write a story like this? For two reasons. It fits the victim narrative. Oh, these poor people, it's just their bodies. It's not their fault. How come nobody ever made a tall person's rights? My knees don't fit. I deserve to sit in the exit row or have that seat removed so that my knees can fit. We don't see that. Why? There's not enough tall people. But people can choose to be morbidly obese. So as they gorge themselves and gain massive amounts of weight, they now say, it's not fair. I should get free stuff. Now, doesn't that explain so much about what the left is? You know, it's funny. Obesity, my understanding is it's more prevalent among the left than it is the right, but not by much. I mean, I don't know the actual statistics, but people on the right tend to be thinner, fitter, and more attractive. The left really gets mad when I point that out, but it's true. They then start showing videos of the ugliest right-wingers or hillbillies with no teeth to make their point. But it's their own ideology that says this. This is what I find funny about the left. You know why it is that conservatives tend to be better looking? If you're better looking, life is easier. And if life is easier, then your attitude is more likely to be, if I can do it, so can anybody else. And you'll find yourself more likely to be in the individualist camp. That's actually the left's argument about attractiveness privilege. But bring it up and point out the left tends to be fat women and short guys, and they get really mad. No, we have strong, attractive men. I get it. You want to show the most attractive leftist person you can. I don't care. I'm not saying every single leftist is ugly and every single conservative is attractive, but the science is there. Conservatives tend to be thinner, not all of them. Conservatives tend to be better looking, not all of them, just tend to be. And there is some reality to this. The only thing I got to say, though, about the morbid obesity stuff is that you've made a choice. That's it. If you choose to be fat, I ain't got no beef. Be as fat as you want to be, right? But you can't then attack other people and demand that you deserve special rights, privileges, and access and resources because of your choice. Think about it this way. A person gets fat when they eat too much. That's it. They're eating too much. They're not exercising enough. It really is calories in, calories out. Now, there is a more nuanced approach to all of this, obviously. It's not only just calories. It's also sodium, carbohydrates, fats, and things like that. When I removed sugars from my diet, for the most part, replaced it with fats, I dropped 30 pounds very, very quickly. And the crazy thing is, I'm probably eating a bit less because of it. So I'll give you an example. I was at a hotel this past weekend, and they had these freezer meals. And one of them was macaroni and cheese. Ooh, it looked so good with bacon bits in it. 800 calories in just this one little, it was like this big. And it was one of those microwave dinners of macaroni and cheese. They also had some kind of meat. It was like steak and vegetables with potatoes. Potatoes, carrots, green beans, steak in a savory sauce. The whole package, 180 calories. And that's it right there. Sugars isn't so much about sweets and cakes and stuff. It's about eating a bowl of pasta and getting 1,000 calories when instead you could eat protein and vegetables and get 170. That's probably what really made me lose the weight. Not the sugar, just that there's less calories in lean meats and vegetables. I made the choice. Granted, I was never that morbidly obese to where I was offending other airline passengers or anything like that. I was 200 pounds, but I made a choice. And I said, I'm just going to start eating better for myself. Why should we have to live in a society where certain people who choose to eat too much get free stuff? It makes no sense. We can't function that way. But that's where we are. That's where BuzzFeed is. And that's where these activists are. This woman chooses to be fat. And that's fine. You can be fat. I don't care. Live your life how you want to live it. But don't expect me to pay your medical bills. Don't expect me to deboard. Here's the point. In this story, they talk about how Kevin Smith had to leave the plane because he was too fat. And they deserve a special seat. So what if I'm sitting in, row 7B, and you're in 7C, the window seat, and you're morbidly obese. And you say, I deserve an extra seat and that should be free. Do I now have to leave my seat? And therein lies the problem. What if the flight's sold out and you sit down and say, I get 2 seats? What about the person next to you? You're saying they have to leave? Doesn't this exemplify so much what the left is? That they demand special rights and privileges over you? It's the same thing with the whole bathroom debate or the safe spaces. Females shouldn't get safe spaces from males, saith the males. Why do you get the right to take away from somebody else? Prepare. Be responsible. Anyway, I don't know. I don't have too much to say on this. Just I saw the clip and I was like, I definitely want to bring this one up. And we also had that story from Sydney Watson where she was pressed on both sides by morbidly obese people pushing into her. And she was like, not okay. Yeah, I certainly think it's not okay. I think planes should have a size and weight limit. We have a size and weight limit for bags. What's the problem? Anyway, I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.